Heartwarming transformation, single dad reveals incredible connection with ignored deaf twins. Jake sat on the edge of his bed, the dull whir of the fan humming in the background as he glanced at the potato sack costumes lying on the floor. It was October, and despite the chill in the air, the town buzzed with excitement. Halloween was days away, and the community center was hosting a talent show, a chance for everyone to shine, especially the ones people often overlooked. His twins, Lily and Max, deaf since birth, could finally share their voices in a way that transcended words. "Come on, you two. Let us show them what you've got," he encouraged, his heart swelling with pride. He envisioned their little faces lit with excitement, fingers dancing through the air as they communicated their dreams in sign. It was a sight that made his chest tighten with hope. The warmth of their laughter was the antidote to the coldness he felt from the world that often held them at arm's length. But not everyone shared his enthusiasm. At Marge's diner, with its greasy floors and cheap coffee, he caught whispers. "Deaf kids shouldn't be in a talent show," one woman sneered. "What would they even perform?" The words slashed through him like icy wind on an autumn day, deepening the shadows of his insecurities. Anger swelled inside him, brought on by the instinct to protect his children from the cruel judgments of a town that often looked the other way. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the talent show just days away, Jake fought back against the negativity. He rallied neighbors, exchanging nods of courage, and slowly, a few began to help. Mrs. Thompson offered to make costumes, while Mr. Evans volunteered to assist with music. As laughter and discussions unfolded, a sense of community began to take shape. But tragedy struck during rehearsal. A fumble with props left Lily in tears, her spirit deflated like a popped balloon. The weight of doubt returned, nearly crushing Jake. He sat by their swings in the fading light, watching the world go dark, wondering if the illusion of a brighter tomorrow was slipping away. That evening, nerves twisted his stomach into knots as Jake reviewed his speech for the talent show. Would anyone accept his kids as they were? Would they see brilliance instead of difference? As the spotlight dimmed, anxieties surged, the community still whispered doubts. When it was finally their turn, the twins stood beside him, hearts racing, ready to break through the barriers. The curtain rose, and the audience gasped, glaring at Jake's children teetering on the brink of acceptance. In that instant of vulnerability, a shocking turn echoed throughout the place, leaving Jake's spirit in tatters and heart fluttering with uncertainty. Would they see the shine buried beneath the surface? Would love and acceptance finally break through? The stage lights blazed, casting a warm glow on the three of them as Jake took a deep breath. His eyes darted between Lily and Max, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. The moment felt suspended in time. Their small bodies trembled, but something deeper ignited within them. A flicker of understanding sparked in his heart, driving him to break the grip of doubt that threatened to suffocate them all. "Just breathe, my loves. You are perfect," he signed slowly, his eyes never wavering from their gaze. The audience sat in rapt attention, the initial surprise fading into a hushed reverence. Lily wiped her cheeks and nodded, her small fists clenched as she instinctively connected with her brother. Max, trembling, took a step forward, leading with his hands, opening a world without words. Their fingers began to dance through the air, expressing joy, sorrow, hope, and a love that knew no bounds. As they signed, Jake could see the audience slowly melt into their performance. Curiosity replaced skepticism. Faces softened, some even leaned forward, as if trying to catch every fluid movement. Jake watched as people exchanged glances, realizing that art doesn't need audible sound, it only requires a heart willing to listen. Lily's eyes lit with the glow of engagement, and Max mirrored her energy. They translated their dreams into vibrant expressions, each gesture becoming a bridge, a connection once overlooked. Jake's heart soared, the vulnerability they shared transformed into strength. The audience was no longer just viewers, they became part of an unfolding story, witnessing the beauty in differences under the harsh glare of judgment. Suddenly, Jake spotted Mrs. Davidson, the woman who had scoffed about the twins, a single tear rolling down her cheek. It struck him that they were reaching someone. The whispers of doubt faded, leaving room for something much richer: understanding. Each movement resonated like notes in a melody, and a swell of emotion became palpable. As their performance reached its climax, celebration burst forth. Lily and Max twirled, fingers twinkling in an unspoken language that transcended spoken word. And then an eruption of applause, swift and powerful, pulling Jake from the edge of uncertainty. The audience, no longer strangers, rose as one to acknowledge the magic of that moment. Jake let the sound wash over him like a cleansing wave: laughter, claps, shouts of joy. It was a surge of acceptance, the kind that warmed the chill in his heart. He glanced at his twins, their smiles illuminating the stage, glowing with a brilliance that had been ignited. But then his gaze shifted to the back row. There stood a figure he hadn't expected to see. His mind raced furiously. Could it really be? The familiar outline illuminated by the backstage lights told a different tale. Among the crowd, he found someone that only a few weeks ago would have seemed improbable. A bit of history, a smattering of unresolved feelings stirred, pulling at the edges of his focus. As the applause faded, a mixture of curiosity and dread settled over him. What would come next? What did this unexpected presence mean for Lily and Max's journey in a world that had been materializing into something bright? Jake's heart began to race as the possibilities spiraled. Was this the chance for healing, or a hidden rift waiting to broaden? He turned back to the twins, who still glowed with the warmth of applause, ready for what came next. But how would they all navigate the uncertainties now swirling around them? The applause echoed through the auditorium, a sweet soundtrack to a moment that felt both surreal and real. As Jake turned from the twins to the figure in the back, the noise faded into a soft hum. The air was thick with emotion, and he could feel the butterflies in his stomach twisting and tumbling. Who would have thought that after all this time, she would choose now to show up? Jessica's eyes locked onto his, a mix of nostalgia and regret reflected back at him. It had been years since they'd last spoken, a tangled web of old flames and misunderstandings had forced them apart. But standing there now, amidst a sea of adoration and celebration, he felt like a kid again, suddenly exposed, vulnerable, and nervous. What did she want? Why tonight? Lily poked Max's side, pulling him back to reality, and Jake forced a smile back to his face, trying to shake off the unease swirling within him. Did you see their faces? He signed to the twins, hoping to refocus their energy. Lily beamed, her curls bouncing as she nodded excitedly, and Max raised his hands, mimicking the applause they had just received, knowing he was part of something profound. But Jake couldn't help darting glances toward Jess occasionally. Memories rushed back in a torrent. The late nights spent talking under the stars. The laughter. And the heartbreak when they had drifted apart. A voice in his head whispered urgently, reminding him of everything that had changed since then, the challenges they faced. Would she accept that the children had shaped a new life for him? Dad, look! Lily's eyes sparkled like the lights above them. Jake pulled himself out of his reverie, focusing again on his twins, and the sensations of contentment and pride flooded his heart. They had soared tonight, chased their dreams, and painted a beautiful story. And yet, as the audience began to trickle out, Jess remained quietly watching, almost hesitant. Suddenly, that buzz of adoration morphed into nervous energy as the people around them began to disperse. The atmosphere shifted, and nervousness crept back into his gut. He could feel his heart racing again as he imagined a conversation, perhaps an apology or a question that hounded him: why did she really come back? Let us go greet some friends, he suggested to his children, giving them a reassuring squeeze on the shoulders. But as they approached, every step felt heavier. Jess stood alone, a solitary figure in a corner, framed by trailing shadows of the setting sun. Her hands hung at her sides, fidgeting nervously as she waited. As if sensing his approach, she looked up, and for a moment, the world faded away. Jake could see it all in her eyes, the longing, the uncertainty, and above all, the love for the children she never knew. The moment felt fragile, brimming with unspoken words and lost chances. "Hey," he finally said, the word barely a whisper, but loud enough. "Hi," she replied, her voice softer than he remembered, like a rustling breeze. I came to see you and the kids." "I didn't know. What are you doing here?" Jake asked, unable to disguise the tremble in his voice. Her response hung in the air, heavy with the weight of past decisions and long-forgotten dreams. They were standing on the precipice of something significant, a moment where everything could change. Would they bridge the gap of years lost? Or would they let it linger and grow? As he studied her face, every inch filled with earnestness, Jake's heart raced at the realization, her next words would open a door or slam it shut. Just then, the twins drew closer, intrigued by the silence that hung like a fragile web around them. Jake felt the pull of family clashing with the remnants of a past life as he waited, breathless, for Jess to speak. What would come next? "Jake, I just wanted to see you," Jessica finally stammered, her eyes searching his for understanding. "I thought about you both more times than I can count." The sincerity in her voice caused a kaleidoscope of feelings to swirl within him. Jake glanced at Lily and Max, who stood with curious expressions, unaware of the complicated history weaving between their father and this woman. He wanted to shield them from any hurt that might arise from old wounds, but at the same time, he couldn't deny the pull of curiosity. "I'm glad you came," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "But it's been a long time, Jess. Things have changed." I know. She glanced at the twins, her expression softening. "They're beautiful." Their silence filled the space between them, a palpable tension that seemed to tug at the corners of the room. Jake felt a surge of protective instinct, wanting to keep his children safe from the intricacies of adult emotions. Yet, hearing Jessica speak as if sharing a piece of their world ignited a flicker of hope. "Lily loves to sing, and Max is always drawing," Jake said, keeping things light to shield against the heaviness that threatened to envelop them. "They've both received awards tonight." Jessica smiled, a genuine one, and the warmth of it stunned him. "I would love to hear them sing sometime." In that moment, Jake's heart ached at the realization of what they had lost, years that could have been filled with laughter and celebration, everything that seemed possible tonight. Do you want to meet them?" Jake asked, almost without thinking, emotion threading through his voice. "Really? I'd love that." Her eyes sparkled with anticipation, but there was also a flicker of hesitation. He could sense she was walking a tightrope, balancing between eagerness and uncertainty. "Hey, kids!" Jake called, kneeling slightly to be at their eye level. "This is Jess. She's an old friend of mine and she'd like to meet you." Lily's face lit up while Max tilted his head, curiously taking in the new presence. Jess knelt down as well, her demeanor nurturing and open. "Hi, I'm Jessica," she said, flashing her best smile. "What kind of music do you like, Lily?" "I love songs about adventures," Lily exclaimed, her enthusiasm contagious. She tugged on Jess's sleeve, letting her excitement spill out. "And I want to be a famous singer." "I bet you will," Jess replied, her voice full of encouragement. Max's eyes darted back and forth, noticing the ease between his dad and Jessica. He reached for Jake's hand while hiding slightly behind him. "Singing is cool," he signed, lips shaping the words, though the silence around them felt loud with everything unsaid. Jess's eyes widened, another layer of surprise revealing itself. "You sign? That's amazing." Jake shot her an encouraging smile, proud of their unique communication. The twins were thriving on their own terms, and now it seemed like she wanted to be a part of it. Feeling the air shift again, Jake's anxiety surged. What if Jess truly wanted to be in their lives? Could he trust her not to walk away again? Jess, I know this is all sudden, and I appreciate you being here, but, why now? He asked, certain there were things left unsaid. Just as the question hung in the air, the auditorium doors opened behind them, flooding the space with light. A crowd of familiar faces emerged, laughing and chatting, oblivious to the moment unfolding in the corner. Jess hesitated, glancing at the approaching wave of people. "We can talk later, right?" she asked softly, as if the reality of their new dynamic dawned on her. Jake nodded slowly, his mind racing. This was just the beginning of a conversation that could change everything. Little did he know, both the past and the future were waiting for answers, and behind him, the twins watched, ready to explore the possibilities ahead. What would the next step mean for their family? As the bustling crowd filled the auditorium, the sounds of laughter and celebration swarmed around them like a comforting blanket. But Jake felt a chill in the air, a stark contrast to the warmth of the moment with Jessica and the kids. He glanced back at Lily and Max, their wide eyes sparkling with curiosity about the new visitor. The flutter in his stomach only grew, uncertainty weaving itself into the fabric of his thoughts. "Come on, let's find a good seat," he said, taking a cautious step back from the emotional precipice they were teetering on. Lily and Max followed, and as Jake led them toward the front, he felt Jess close behind him, her presence stirring a mix of nostalgia and trepidation. Sitting together, the twins were bubbling with excitement over the upcoming performances. But Jake's mind was elsewhere. He couldn't shake the feeling that tonight was more than just a celebration of their accomplishments. It was a doorway, opening into an uncharted territory that involved Jessica. She was here now, and everything felt fragile. "Have you heard Lily sing?" Jake asked Jess, trying to keep the conversation flowing among the joyful chaos around them. She shook her head, gratefully taking the lifeline he offered. "No, but I already know she's going to be amazing," Jess replied, her eyes dancing with enthusiasm. Jake smiled, a part of him thankful for the lightness she brought. "You can't be shy about it, Lily. Show her your vocal range." Without waiting for a prompt, Lily gasped and started to hum a tune. It was an adventurous melody, bright and carefree. Max joined in with gentle percussion beats using his hands on his knees, matching Lily's rhythm. "Oh no!" Jess exclaimed, feigning horror. "I'm going to have to keep up with you too." Jake laughed, relieved to see the tension ease. In this moment, with their simple spontaneity, he could envision a world where Jess was welcomed back into their lives. As the lights dimmed signaling the beginning of the event, Jake's heart raced. A sense of pride rose within him as Lily took a deep breath and eagerly stood up to signal that she too was ready to take the stage soon. "That's my girl," he urged, a smile spreading wide across his face. But just as the curtain lifted, revealing performers on stage, a part of him couldn't help but wonder if Jess would still be around when the final bow was taken. The performances flowed brilliantly. Each act drew cheers and applause. Jake caught snippets of conversations around them, laughter lifting high in the air, but his heart wasn't fully in the celebration. Instead, it was drawn to the future. What would it mean to invite Jessica into their lives again? As the final act concluded, a wave of noise and excitement erupted from the audience. Jake held his breath, glancing at the twins who were bursting with joy. "Can we perform now, Dad?" Lily's eyes sparkled with determination. "Of course, sweetie," he replied, a rush of warmth flooding him. He was ready. Ready to take that leap with her. Jess leaned forward, her expression one of anxious excitement mixed with hope. "I can't wait to hear you both," she whispered, her eyes locking onto Jake's. But even as he soaked in her enthusiasm, a nagging thought crept into his mind. What would this new connection mean when the applause faded? Just as the twins were preparing, the doors to the backstage area creaked open, and a new figure emerged, a tall man with an air of authority, scanning the crowd before his eyes landed on Jess. Jake felt an undeniable tension ripple through him, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. "Jess, you're here," the man said, surprise etched across his face. Jake's heart dropped. Who was this man? What role did he play in Jessica's life? Every instinct screamed at him, yet he remained planted where he stood, the silhouette of uncertainty looming ahead. What did this unexpected reunion mean for their already fragile connection? Jake's mind raced as he took in the man standing before Jess. The tension in the air thickened, wrapping itself around him like a heavy cloak. He didn't recognize the man, but the way Jess's expression changed, the flicker of surprise quickly replaced by a careful neutrality, struck a chord deep within him. The bustling auditorium, filled with cheers and applause, faded into a dull hum. Suddenly, the joy felt distant, overshadowed by the presence of this stranger. Devin, she managed to say, her voice surprisingly steady. The name hung between them like a fragile thread. Jake caught Lily's eager eyes flicking between her dad and Jess, confusion knitting her brow. Max, still humming under his breath, picked up on the shift in energy and fell silent, sensing that something wasn't right. Figured I'd find you here, Devin continued, a hint of a smirk on his lips. I see you're still enchanting crowds. Jake clenched his hands into fists on his knees, watching as Jess shifted in her seat, a nervousness creeping into her demeanor. Was this guy someone from her past? What did he want with Jessica now? Yeah, well, you know how it is, Jess said, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. It's a special night for the kids. Your kids? The question dripped with disbelief as Devin gestured toward the twins, who had no clue about the undercurrents swirling around them. The protective instincts surged within Jake, pushing him to speak up. They're ours, and they're about to perform, he said firmly, gesturing to the stage where the anticipation was building. Perform? Jess echoed, her tone shifting to something softer, almost fond. They're singing. Right now, he replied, trying not to let the accusation in Devin's gaze drown out his excitement. Lily and Max are amazing. Just as Jess opened her mouth, ready to answer, Lily tugged on Jake's sleeve. Dad, I'm nervous. Jake turned to his daughter, instantly feeling the weight of her little worries. You'll be wonderful, sweetheart. Just picture everyone smiling at you, he encouraged, rubbing her back gently. Just like Mom used to say, Max chimed in, his innocent reverence warming Jake's heart even more. A fleeting look of regret crossed Jess's face as she caught the unintentional reminder. Jake felt the tension shimmer in the air. I should go, Devin said, stepping back slightly, his demeanor shifting. Don't let me interrupt the show. I just wanted to see how you were doing. The moment felt electric, as if everything was teetering on the edge. Jake bristled at the thought of Jess's past colliding with their present, but deep down, he recognized a vulnerable part of her that had to navigate this confrontation alone. Thanks, Jess replied quietly, her gaze not meeting Devin's anymore. I'm fine. With that, Devin slipped away into the crowd, leaving a void that buzzed with questions. Jake turned back to Jess, who was reeling in silence, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. Who was he? Jake asked softly. The weight of the question hung between them, urgent yet delicate. An old friend, Jess said, her voice barely above a whisper. But the way she said it felt like there was more unsaid. Just as the lights dimmed again, signaling the twins' upcoming performance, Jake took a deep breath. There was no turning back now. The stage was set, both for Lily and Max and for the fragile relationship he was trying to stitch back together with Jess. Could this night still hold promise, or was it just the beginning of deeper complications? In that fleeting moment, as applause erupted, Jake found himself caught between the joy of the twins on stage and the shadow of the past that had suddenly resurfaced. What would tomorrow bring? Would he have the strength to face it all, especially with Jess still standing beside him? The lights dimmed and the auditorium fell into an expectant hush. Jake felt a rush of warmth as he watched the twins step onto the stage, their small figures illuminated under the soft spotlights. Lily and Max stood side by side, a picture of innocence and excitement mingled with nervousness. Look at them, he whispered to Jess, proudness swelling inside him as his heart raced with a mixture of joy and anxiety. "They're ready." Jess's lips curved into a fragile smile, but her eyes had drifted back to the crowd, searching for something or someone. Jake felt a flicker of frustration. Why couldn't she just be in this moment, wholly present with them? Then, the music started. Soft strains of a melody filled the air, and he watched as Lily and Max exchanged glances, their faces lighting up with a sense of shared courage. They began to sing, their voices intertwining beautifully, filling the space with an infectious joy. Nerves transformed into beaming smiles as they poured their hearts into the performance, igniting the audience's enthusiasm. All around Jake, families leaned forward in their seats, captivated. He felt a rush of pride, his chest swelling as the insistent tempo quickened. Yet, as he clapped and cheered, a weight pressed on his heart. Jess beside him remained lost in thought, her focus somewhere beyond the glow of the stage. "Jess," he said, leaning closer to her ear to be heard over the music. "Are you okay?" She blinked, as if snapping back to reality. "Yeah, It's been a long time since I've seen Devin," she admitted, her voice shaky as her eyes flickered momentarily to the exit where Devin had disappeared. "Just focus on them," he urged, gesturing toward the twins. "They need to know we believe in them." She nodded, but Jake could tell her thoughts were still elsewhere. His heart ached, he desperately wanted to shield her from whatever shadows still lingered in her past. As the twins hit a particularly sweet note, the audience erupted into applause, and Jake caught Jess's gaze light up, if only for a moment. "See?" He smiled, his eyes sparkling. "They're doing amazing." Jess's smile widened, a mix of pride and sadness flitting across her features. "They really are," she agreed softly. For a second, he saw the walls she built around herself crumble. But just as quickly, doubt washed over her face again. What if he comes back? What if he wants to be part of their lives? Her voice was barely above a whisper, haunted by uncertainty. Jake felt his chest tighten. "Jess, you and I both know what's best for them," he reassured her, brushing his thumb over her knuckles, hoping to infuse her with some of his strength. "What Devin wants doesn't matter. We're their family." She looked at him, searching his face for reassurance. He felt the warmth of her hand against his, and despite the distraction of her past, here and now, they shared a moment that might help bridge those gaps. The twins finished their song, and thunderous applause filled the space. Jake watched their faces light up, soaking in the accolades as they took their bows. "I'm sorry I drifted off," Jess said, her gaze flitting back to the stage, where the twins were already mingling with their friends. "Let us go celebrate their victory," Jake suggested, trying to steer the conversation back to the present. "We'll take them out for ice cream." "Great idea," Jess replied, but her smile faded slightly. "Jake, what if Devin," he interjected, "will handle it. Together." The finality in his voice left no room for doubt. Together. As they gathered their things to leave, Jake spotted a familiar figure by the exit. His heart dropped. Devin was back, his eyes scanning the crowd. Jake felt tension jolt through him. "Jess," he started, but she was already looking toward the man. The uncertainty sizzled in the air again as the distance between them narrowed. Something was about to change. Would they be ready for it when it did? Devin stepped forward, and Jake's heart raced. He was taller than Jake remembered, a little more rugged, with a shadow of stubble framing his jaw. It felt as if the world had sucked in a breath, and time momentarily froze. It was just the three of them, him, Jess, and Devin. Then, the crowd faded into a dull murmur, swallowed by the import of this moment. "Jess," Devin called, and there was a strange familiarity in his voice, like an old song playing on the radio, both sweet and bittersweet. Jake could see Jess's entire demeanor shift. Her brightness dimmed, shadows creeping back into her gaze. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Yeah, well, the twins were performing," she replied, her voice steady but laced with tension. "They did a great job. Lily and Max were still celebrating on stage, the last echoes of their performance fueling the energy of the moment. Jake wanted to sweep Jess away, to shield her from whatever pain Devon brought back into their lives. But he also wanted to respect her, let her face this piece of her past, for both their sakes. Right, Devon said, his hands in his pockets now, looking somewhat sheepish. I came to see them. Did you? Jake couldn't keep the prickling edge from his tone. Why now? After everything? Yes. Devon's brow furrowed as he looked between them, gauging the tension. I know I haven't been part of their lives, and I messed up. I just wanted to. He hesitated, glancing back at the twins, who were capturing joyous moments with their friends. I wanted to at least support them. Jess took a deep breath. A battle raged in her eyes, but she stood firm. This isn't just about showing up, Devon. You left. You chose to walk away from them. Her voice shook slightly, but determination seeped through. I know, but I've changed. His voice dropped, and there was an earnestness there that Jake hadn't expected. I want a second chance. Just to be around. But what does that mean? Jess pressed, and for the first time, Jake noticed a small tremor in her hands. You can't just waltz back in because you feel guilty. Devon's expression shifted, as if struck by her words. I'm not asking for that. Just a chance to be a part of their lives, to see them. There was desperation wrapped in his voice, but Jake could see Jess wasn't buying it. Lily and Max bounced off the stage, unaware of the storm brewing around them. Their laughter tugged at Jake's heart, pulling him back into the light. We did it, Dad. Max shouted, and just like that, their joy started to dissolve the tension. Jake stepped forward, hands resting protective but firm on Jess's shoulders. You can't just make promises to them, Devon. They need consistency. They need you to show up, not only today but every day after. Being their dad means more than a mere appearance. The trio fell silent, the weight of Jake's words hanging in the air. Jess's expression softened fractionally as she turned to him, searching for support. He nodded, silently conveying strength. Devon's jaw clenched, and in that splitting moment, Jake could see the conflict within him, the desperation to reconnect, the fear of rejection, and a hint of remorse that cut through the self-preservation he normally wore like armor. But what if he changes his mind again? Jess whispered, her eyes fixed on their twins, who now chased each other in a delighted game of tag. Jake's heart raced, knowing how deeply this was entangled in both their lives. If he truly wants this, he whispered back, then we'll have to figure this out together. Devon took a step closer, as if catching on to their whispered discussion. I can do better. I want to meet them where they are. Just he paused, glancing between the twins and Jake. Just give me a chance. That urge to protect Jess and the twins swelled again, yet amidst the swirling feelings of anger and hurt, a glint of possibility flickered to life. Could there be a way for them to reconcile? As the twins shouted for attention, ravenous for their father's support, Jake felt fate tighten its grip. The moment of truth was upon them, and with it came the realization that whatever happened next would shape everything. Would Jess be able to look past the past? Could Devon prove his commitment? And was Jake truly ready to share the role he had fought so hard to protect? Desperate eyes filled with uncertainty stared back at him, and the moment lingered. Would they find a way to embrace the unexpected path ahead? The laughter of the twins seemed almost otherworldly, cutting through the tension like a knife. Jake's heart tightened as he scanned their faces, bright with innocence, completely unaware of the adult struggles surrounding them. Max tugged at his sleeve, his eyes sparkling. Dad! Can you give me a boost to the slide? Yeah. Come on, Dad. Lily echoed, her laughter infectious. It pulled him momentarily away from the heaviness in the air. Sure, Jake replied, forcing a smile as he bent down, scooping Max into his arms. But his gaze never left Devon. The man's face was a mix of hope and fear, an uncomfortable cocktail simmering beneath the surface. Think they want to see me? Devin's voice broke through the din, tentative yet filled with longing. Want to see you? Jess scoffed, her brow furrowing. You've been invisible for years. You don't just waltz back and hope for the best. Max's delighted giggles filled Jake's ears, but his heart pounded with anxiety. What would it mean for them if Devin truly wanted to be part of their lives? Could he stand by while their world shifted? Jake started, turning toward her, but her eyes were distant, following the twins as they ran. You have to understand. This isn't about us anymore. It's about them. Isn't it about us too? Jess shot back, her voice low but full of fierce passion. What if he hurts them again? I can't take that chance. The fight in her voice sent a jolt through his veins. Their family had formed its own rhythm over the years, one built on love, laughter, and stable ground. Could that be tossed aside with a single meeting? The mere thought made his stomach churn. Let's just talk, Jake said softly, trying to diffuse the storm. Let's take it slow. Maybe there's a way to move forward without diving into the deep end. Jess clenched her jaw but nodded, the flickers of doubt in her eyes unwavering. Devin, standing just a few steps away, looked between them, heaving a breath of uncertainty. Okay, he said, voice barely above a whisper. I can do this slowly. Just, give me a chance to meet them. Jake watched as Devin's nervous energy translated into a steady resolve. Maybe this wasn't the reckless reunion they all feared. Maybe there was a possibility of healing here if they approached it right. Max clambered down from Jake's arms after a joyful ascent up the slide. He bolted over to Devin, eyes alight with curiosity. Hey! Do you want to play with us? In that moment, time kicked back into motion, and all eyes fastened on Devin as the question lingered in the air. Jake held his breath, anxious about what would happen next. What do you say? Jake prompted, glancing at Jess, hoping to gauge her reaction. Would she even let him engage with their son? Devin tore his gaze from Max, looking at Jess for confirmation, and in that exchange, Jake recognized a flicker of vulnerability in both men, an undeniable yearning to step beyond the walls they had built around themselves. Sure, Devin finally responded, his voice steadying as he knelt. I'd love to. Max grinned, reaching out for Devin's hand. Let us go. You can be our knight. As the trio of laughter bubbled back into play, a lesson began to emerge, a fragile understanding that family could take many forms, and perhaps this was their chance to redefine what that meant. But as Jess watched, the fear still crackled beneath her composed exterior. Jake could see it, the complicated emotions dancing across her face. Would she truly trust Devin again? And what if this only opened another wound? The bonds of their family were shifting, expanding, but were they strong enough to hold the weight of the past? Jake's heart raced, unsure of what the next moments, let alone the next day, would hold. He felt the delicate threads around him tighten, woven together in a tapestry of hope and trepidation. As the laughter of the twins filled the air, a new tension settled in, a question deeper than any words could capture. Would they find a path that led to healing, or would this fragile arrangement unravel before it even began? The laughter of Lily and Max filled the air like music, pulling Jake from the depths of his anxiety. He watched as they ran towards Devin, their faces lit with joy, unaware of the delicate balance of adult emotions swirling around them. Yet, in that moment, glimmers of hope sparked within him. Could this be the beginning of something new? As the new dynamics played out in real time, the three, Max, Devin, and Lily, spun around each other, a delightful blur of color and sound. A part of Jake wanted to take it all in, let it wash over him. But every instinct urged him to protect his children from the storms of their past. Hey! Want to be our knight? He heard Max shout, innocence pouring from his voice like sunshine. Jake's heart did a little flip. Would Devin accept this? Could he step up to this unexpected role, or was this just a moment of fleeting excitement? Devin leaned closer to the twins, a shy smile gracing his lips. Absolutely. Every night needs a team. The way he bent down to their level, the warmth in his tone. Jake noted these details with a mixture of hope and caution. Lily giggled, her laughter ringing like bells. We're going to have the best adventure. With that, she grabbed Max's hand and pulled him toward the playground equipment, leading Devin behind them. For a fleeting moment, it felt like everything could be okay. As Jack stood back, watching the scene unfold, he felt Jess beside him, her presence a steadying force. He turned to her, scanning her expression. It reflected cautious optimism, but there was still a hint of fear. Are you all right? He asked softly. I'm trying, she admitted, her voice a trembling whisper. I want this to work, but the look in her eyes revealed an internal battle. Jake took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts in the swirl of uncertainty. I know. But maybe we can do this together. For them. If we take it slow. She leaned in closer, her voice barely audible over the sound of laughter. But what if he just disappears again? What if he hurts them? Each word was weighted with concern. He may not deserve a chance, Jake replied, running a hand through his hair, but we can't deny Lily and Max the chance to know their family. It's about them. His tone was steady, and he hoped to reassure her, showing his resolve. Jess's eyes softened, and he felt a flicker of agreement, albeit laced with hesitation. I guess I'm just scared. Me too, Jake confessed. But I think we can still be in control of how this unfolds. We can set the pace. As they stood together, watching the three gather around the swing set, Devin tentatively pushing the twins, Jake felt doubt pass like a dark cloud. Would this span into something meaningful, or was it just a temporary distraction from the truths they all faced? Moments passed, with deception of joy surrounding them. Then suddenly, Devin turned and caught Jake's eye, a flicker of vulnerability flashing across his face. The boys were whirling around, laughter resounding, and in that split second, Jake knew this wouldn't be easy. Hey, Jake. Devin called. Can you come over here? The request caught Jake off guard. What was this about now? Should he edge closer, or did he need to keep his distance? He felt Jess tense beside him. Just breathe, he whispered, offering her a smile, an attempt to soothe the storm brewing beneath the surface. They made their way to the others, and standing in the open air seemed to clear some of the tension. Devin looked earnest, his smile genuine yet apprehensive. I just wanted to tell you both how incredible your kids are, he started, glancing over at Lily and Max, who were bouncing with energy. Thank you, Jake replied carefully, gauging Devin's demeanor. They work hard. They pretend like nothing frightens them. Devin nodded, his sincerity shining through. I don't want to intrude, and I certainly understand if you're wary about this. He glanced at Jess, his eyes dropping to the ground for a brief moment. But I want to support them, see them grow. I know I've let you down before, but I'm committed to being there this time. Just showing up isn't enough, Jess interjected, her voice strong yet measured. They need consistent support. They need to know you care. I know, Devin said. That's why I'm here. I want to earn that trust. Jake hesitated, breathing through the weight of the implications. Perhaps Devin was ready to make a commitment. Or perhaps it was all too good to be true. Then let's take it one day at a time, Jake said, feeling the shift. Come to the park every Saturday. The air felt lighter, but Jake's heart remained vigilant. Together they could lay down the groundwork. It wouldn't happen overnight, but it was a start. The laughter from the swings brightened the atmosphere, washing away remnants of fear. Jake looked to Jess as the twins squealed in delight, each swing pushing them higher into the sky. Okay, Jess finally said, a small smile gracing her lips. One step at a time. Together? Jake asked, holding her gaze. Together, she echoed, the two of them sharing a moment grounding themselves amid chaos. The afternoon moved forward, as conversations and laughter melted into sunset hues. In the distance, colored lights twinkled, casting reflections of warmth and new beginnings. As the twins darted toward them, joy radiating from every step, Jake felt hope swell in his chest. They could forge a future not without challenges, but with purpose and love. In this moment, surrounded by laughter and light, he realized that the past didn't have to define what was possible. They could build something new, brick by brick, right here, right now. With that realization, he turned to Jess, their shared gaze filled with unspoken promises and a renewed commitment to their family the day a new chapter truly began. So here it was, no longer merely surviving through the motions, but thriving in the presence of newfound transformations and connections. As the twins rushed forward, tugging at their hands, Jake smiled, feeling the warmth of unity envelop them. This was their moment, and he was ready for every second of it, each heartbeat filled with love and laughter echoing through the air. It was time to build a future together. Now is the time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Every click makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. I'm excited to hear from you. And for those who need to see this transformation, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.